Hello and welcome to Media MD, the podcast where each fortnight we prescribe each other a piece of media that we have somehow missed. I'm Reuben Morehouse.
And I'm Elliot Diebold.
And we're in the middle of our One Punch Man watch. So
right.
In the weeks between the two episodes, we're going to bring you another special you may also enjoy. So this week we're talking about a TV show that you may also enjoy if you liked... And look, it's kind of vague because we've done a number of different science fiction TV shows.
It's definitely... I think it links the most to Stargate, is what I'd say. It's by the same people, well, largely.
Yep. So the TV show we're talking about is a science fiction TV show called Dark Matter.
Yep. And this is a bit of a memorial episode because... I've been a fan of the show for a few years now, but it just got cancelled, and there's been a big sort of fan push to try and get someone else to pick it up, but the executive producer just posted on his blog today that that's not happening. So as far as Dark Matter, the TV show goes, it's over, which is a bit sad.
Yeah. So do you want to tell the story about the the infamous tweet?
Well, yeah, so there's been a big fan campaign to sort of try to get it brought back to life, and Sci-Fi last week posted a tweet saying, asking people which fan base they were most loyal to out of all the sci-fi shows, and I think, they had a couple of thousand responses, and it was like 99% were people saying that it was Dark Matter, but now they cancelled it and took a very negative turn, which I'm sure the sci-fi people were thrilled about.
I mean, you feel like people should learn the lesson about these things by now, but I guess not.
Yeah, who keeps giving these social media people jobs?
It's just because, as someone who has to manage a couple of social media feeds for work, it's the most fucking mind-numbing thing, I swear. So whoever you can get to do it, doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Anyway, we've been talking about the show's cancellation for a while. Maybe we should actually talk about what the show is.
Sure.
So
you just watched a few episodes, right?
Yeah. So you've seen there are three seasons, right?
Yeah.
And you've seen all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen all of this show, but in prep for this episode, I watched a couple. I watched the first two episodes, which is like a two-parter, pilot thing.
Yeah. And
then I watched a standalone episode from season 3, which was season 3, episode 9, and it's called something Paradox. It's about they travel back in time to the year 2017. It's your future characters stuck in the present, or our present.
Yeah, it's a comic relief episode. Where there's just shenanigans because they're all used to space and they can't deal with life.
Yeah.
In boring old 2017.
There's a lot of jokes like one of the characters who's an android dancing to different contemporary songs. There's a lot of these kinds of jokes. There's a Reddit reference which I was pleased to see.
Yeah, well the executive producer's a big Redditor, and he's a big feature of the Dark Matter subreddit as well. So I think he just took the opportunity where he saw it
to plug it. To be like, I'm going to post this on the Dark Matter subreddit. They don't go that into it, but I think the line is, wow, this is going to get like 1 or 2 million upvotes on Reddit. Anyway. Yeah,
one of the kids takes a video of the spaceship or something.
Yeah, so let's talk about what the show is actually about. So the basic premise of the show is there are 6 characters and they wake up from like cryostasis on a spaceship, and something's gone wrong because none of them have any memory of who they are or who the other ones are.
Yeah.
So they wake up, and that's basically it. Over the first 2 episodes, they kind of find out a little bit about who they are, but there's a lot of mysteries still left unresolved.
And that was even still going at the end of season 3. Like,
oh really?
Because obviously it turns out all of them have fairly interesting backstories, which, it's kind of like, on one hand it's a bit unbelievable, but then on the other hand it's like, well, it wouldn't be an interesting show if it just turned out that they are all 6 like merchants.
6 randos, yeah.
Yeah. So there's sort of more twists and turns that come up from their backstories as the show goes, and they're even hinting at a few more in the final episode
that will never get resolved.
Well, I think they're talking about going on as a comic book or something like that. Which,
oh my god,
interesting. The show actually started as a comic book or comic series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so after Stargate got cancelled, the two of these writers, Joseph Morsey and Paul Mully, so they did a lot of Stargate stuff. I think they joined the show in about season 4 and were really influential in the show and all its spin-offs after that. And then once all of Stargate sort of wrapped up, they started doing this comic book, and then they got that picked up as a show, and so they ditched the comic and switched to the show, and now I guess they're switching back to finish it all off.
Finish it off, yeah. Okay. So why don't you talk about what you like about this show, and then I'll talk about my first impressions of it.
Sure. I mean, so I guess for me, this is the closest show at the moment to recapturing what I really liked about sci-fi TV in the early 2000s, which is like when Stargate was at its prime, and you also had other shows like Farscape and even sorts of shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, just sort of a bit more fun. And so that was really why I pushed you to watch more than the pilot, because I think this show started off for me a bit rocky, trying to decide whether it was going to be more fun or more edgy. I guess is the word I'd use. And later on, it sort of found a better balance and featured a bit more fun. But that's sort of what I like. Is it's sort of the closest you get to fun sci-fi on TV at the moment, I'd say. But yeah, and the characters as well. Again, that's another thing. I think the show started off with them all being quite sort of one-dimensional. Like when they first sort of wake up, they all have one or two traits about them that have survived the memory wipe.
Yeah, they have one or two special skills that they kind of intuitively remember. It's great.
Yeah, so there's like one's a ninja, one's a dickhead, one's a hacker, and that's sort of how they start off. But
one of them's special skill is that he's just a piece of shit.
Yeah, pretty much, and that really sort of goes away towards the end of the first season. They just because it's a very character centric show a lot of the time. And so, especially by season 3, they're all it's a group of sort of quite good characters, I guess is just the term I'd use. They're all quite well built and have a bit of depth. But it starts out obviously because they've had their memories wiped. There's not much to them at the start.
It's interesting to me because it is such a character-driven show, and the difference in the characters between the first 2 episodes and the season 3, episode 9, the later episode that I watched, there was a big difference.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing to me when I started watching the show was how one note a lot of the characters were. Like you mentioned, there's a ninja character, and this was hilarious to me because they're waking up and they're all kind of exploring the ship and starting to piece together who they are. And this, the Asian male character, whose character's name is 4, because they're just named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 based on the order they woke up. 4 kind of is walking down a hallway with one of the other ones. I think it's 3 or whoever, I don't care. And he stops for a second. He's like, oh, let's go this way. And they go that way, and they walk into a room with all these swords and knives, and 4 just walks up, and I'm like, oh my god, is the Asian guy going to be like a ninja master? And he is. It's so great. It's so funny. A lot of the characters fit into these archetypes. Like you mentioned, the hacker, who is this kind of genius character. But the thing about that is 4 throughout the first 2 episodes is so one note. But then when I was watching the season 3 episode, he just had a character and was doing things, and it was like, oh, okay, so they do actually. I think it was a good idea for you to get me to watch some of these one of these later episodes, just to see that the show doesn't stay as one note as it is in the first episode, especially.
Yeah, I think I definitely feel I've never gone back and rewatched anything, so I haven't seen the first season for 2 years now. But I do remember thinking, as I was watching season 1, it felt... it did feel a bit, I guess, unoriginal is probably the best word for it.
So I was kind of live messaging you as I was watching the first 2 episodes. And I think the comparison that I would really make is, between the first 2 episodes at least, for the show, is Firefly. To the extent that almost all of the characters can track one-to-one with characters from Firefly. So we have 1 who's essentially a rip-off version of Mal. We have 2 who is the captain, who's this badass female, and she's essentially a rip-off of Zoe. We have number 3 in Dark Matters, who is this kind of aggressive and manly warrior type who is almost a one-to-one. He's the closest copy, I would say, in the first 2 episodes of Jane from Firefly.
Yeah.
And then the lines start to blur a little bit. We have characters who are pretty similar. We have a young 15-year-old mechanic who is a lot like Kaylee, crossed with a little bit of River Tam, and it's very weird. It just feels like Firefly, but a lot of the characters have lost their memory.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think, going back to the first season, what really kept me going is I enjoyed that premise of finding out more about their backstory.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I feel like the show got off to a bit of a shaky start. But it definitely, by season 2, I was genuinely just hooked because it was good now.
That's interesting.
If that makes sense. So I think it's a slow start. And it reminds me a bit, and obviously this goes back to the Stargate thing. Stargate universe, I have very similar opinions about. So that was the last sort of Stargate show.
The last time.
And it started off pretty poorly, in my opinion. And then got really good in the second season, but got cancelled after that because it kind of had low viewership. And I think that kind of made sense because I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people sort of dropped out early on in season 1 because I don't think that was very good.
Yeah, it's hard to come back from a weak start.
It is,
I mean, Dark Matter's cancelled now. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has always struggled from its, first season. Yeah. With shows like this, if it's a kind of Monster of the Week format, it's rough coming back from a weak first season.
Definitely.
I would say definitely that I wanted to keep watching Dark Matter at the start of the first season, and that was exclusively because of the mystery of who are they and like what's happening with their backstory and all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, in fact, and when I jumped to season 3, there was it was clearly an entirely different plot. There were a bunch of different things happening.
Yeah, definitely more so than Stargate. Dark Matter pushes both the characters and the plot forward a lot more. It does a lot less of these Monster of the Week style episodes, where Stargate would sort of, over and over again, especially in SG-1 or even Atlantis, at the end of the season, things would often be pretty similar to where they were at the start, with maybe 1 or 2 changes. It's definitely not the case with Dark Matter. They things were constantly evolving and changing, and I liked that.
Yeah, that's good, but I don't know. I think Dark Matter, well, it's hard for me to judge the merit of its season-long arcs because I don't.
Yeah.
I haven't experienced any of them really, but I think it's in a difficult position, especially for me, just having watched and still watching The Expanse puts Dark Matter in a pretty rough position story-wise.
Yeah, and I think my biggest issue with Dark Matter would sort of be, I feel like it's tried to both be an edgy sort of darker science fiction show, in this sort of post-Battlestar Galactica sci-fi network, and it's tried to have a bit of the lightheartedness of Stargate and Farscape and those pre-ones, and it has struggled over the years to sort of balance those two things. It's hard to be both lighthearted and fun, but also serious and dark, and it's done a pretty good job most of the time, but there have been misses. Whereas you're right, something like The Expanse, which just sort of is more on that darker hard sci-fi end, and it just nails that. It is very hard to go from that to Dark Matter, which is sort of trying to balance both and struggles from time to time.
Yeah, so talking about Dark Matter in general, I think I don't have that many criticisms. I mean, I enjoyed the first 2 episodes, even though part of that enjoyment was just because I was messaging you the whole way through it, Elliot, being like, oh, this thing's stupid, oh, this part's great, oh, this bit's stupid.
No, and I mean, I definitely enjoy it in the same way. Like, there's definitely moments where it's just kind of silly, and it... Yeah,
exactly.
And that's
fun.
Cool. Yeah, that's fun. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Although I do have one actual complaint about the show, which is, God, the score in this show is so bad. Like, the music selections that they do for different scenes is atrocious.
I don't remember noticing that.
Okay, so there's it reminds me of when we were talking about the 100. I said something similar. There's this, in this episode, the season 3 episode that I watched, when they go back into the present day, they do this thing that, I'm not sure if they do it that often, but they definitely did it in this episode, where they kind of have this end of episode stinger that plays out over music,
Yeah.
like, summing up, kind of giving a couple of short vignette images that kind of sum up the themes and the characters from the episode, right? And it's played over this, like, it's not pop, but it's like it's middle ground between pop and rock, I would say. It's so it's so like groan inducing. It feels like a young adult kind of thing, and it just frustrates me. It was the same way in the 100 when they would do this in the first season. It just frustrates me so much. It's just like they're trying to play this music to make you have an emotional reaction to this thing.
Yeah, I mean that's something a lot of TV shows do.
Yeah, but it's so overt in this show. It's so overt and so ineffective that it just makes me groan, and it's not. I don't know. I mean, I can laugh about it, but it's still frustrating. Yeah, I did quite like this show. I think. I mean, I'll probably keep watching it. It's not like at the top of my watch list because I am still making my way through The Expanse, and I have, Harmon Quest Season 2 to catch up on. A lot of good. There's a lot of good shit out there at the moment, obviously. But I would definitely say that this is a show that if you enjoyed, Stargate or Firefly or The Expanse or any of the numerous science fiction TV shows that we've covered on this podcast, then it's definitely worth checking out. I think this definitely fits into the vein of You May Also Enjoy, which is a show where I personally probably wouldn't recommend it off the bat. I would have other things that I recommend first, but if someone's like, oh, I really like this thing, what else can you tell me that's like this? Dark Matter is probably that.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, I would still find myself recommending Stargate over this, but then if somebody was telling me that they've done Stargate and they're looking for something else, this would probably be one of the shows that I'd tell them to drop by.
If they've done Stargate and Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe, then maybe you can tell them about Dark Matter.
Oh, and then also they're allowed to be my friend.
Yeah, of course. That's the prerequisite on the Elliot's friendship application form. It's like, which Stargate series have you watched? And it's just SG1, SGU, SGA, and there's no other options. There's none of the above.
None of the others provide meaningful data.
Although, have we talked about the new Stargate show yet on this podcast?
No, probably not, because it was announced. That was all announced a little after our annual review. Yeah, I guess that's worth bringing up in this. I mean, Stargate is back, and I mean, I did actually briefly mention this on Reddit and kind of got downvoted for it.
Yeah.
But I did bring up the fact that even though Dark Matter's now gone, the silver lining could be that as Stargate's coming back, maybe Joseph Mallozzi will now have the time to be involved in that resurgence. But that didn't go over well with the rest of the Dark Matter fans. Which is fair enough. But Stargate sort of come back, and so
it's back in air quotes.
Yeah, they're testing the water, so they've got like a streaming service with more special features and all the episodes and stuff, which I've joined up. But they're also producing about a movie length miniseries covering an odd choice of a prequel about the lady who discovered the Stargate.
Yes.
It was a bit of an odd
about that. Yeah, about the lady who's mostly in the movie and then is in like one or two episodes of SG1.
Yeah, I get the feeling it was a choice due to budgetary constraints. I mean, MGM's clearly put some money into this new Stargate reboot sort of thing, franchise reboot, but they're not putting in too much, and so a prequel series that will be presumably almost entirely based on Earth,
entirely set on Earth, yeah, which is a weird choice.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense for a low budget choice. It's called
Stargate Not Yet.
Yeah, Stargate soon.
Stargate coming soon to a military base near you.
But yeah, I think they've pretty much said that if this does well, then they'll look at sort of forking out a bit more to do something better. So, I mean, I know that I'm not the only one who's really going to support this new origin story, even though I'm not particularly excited for the actual story they're doing, just because I want to support more.
You're going to stream it 10 times.
Oh yeah, I'll just have it going on repeat.
Yep, loop it. Yeah, so we got off a bit of a different tangent, unrelated to Dark Matter, but maybe we should kind of sum it up. Yeah, like I like Dark Matter, and I know you like Dark Matter, Elliot, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Look, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good show.
It starts off a bit average, in my opinion, but it definitely does pick up if you stick by it. And, you know, if you like particularly shows like Stargate or that sort of thing, it'll definitely push the right buttons for you once it picks up.
You know, I actually feel like I liked the first 2 episodes more. Not because they were better, because I reckon they were of lower quality, but just kind of I had more fun with them, you know? Like, they were stupid. And I like stupid science fiction that just kind of does its thing, and it's like, this bit's a bit stupid, you know? Like, there was a point where they hinted at this race of, like, super tall lizard aliens that don't exist. You find out that they're not real, but I was like, oh, fuck yes, I'm so down for this stupid, like, pretty shitty CGI alien lizard thing to come in. I was like...
Yeah. Or, no, because it wouldn't even be CGI. It'd be some dude in a giant plastic lizard mask.
It'd be like a little lizard action figurine that they use kind of trick photography to make it look bigger. Yeah, anyway, it's the kind of thing where it's like, I don't know. And with the later episode, it was better, but it was also trying to be a bit sillier, and so that kind of killed the vibe. It was a bit of a Birdemic 2 to me, but I still liked it. I'd still probably watch it. Yeah, anyway, if you want to check out Dark Matter and let us know your thoughts, there is a discussion thread up on our subreddit right now, and you can check the link for that in the show notes. Alternatively, we're in the middle of our One Punch Man watch, so if you want to let us know what you're thinking of One Punch Man, again, link to that discussion thread is in the show notes. Otherwise, we'll see you in a week when we talk about, Elliot, what you thought of One Punch Man.
Yep.
All right, we'll catch you then.